Try to write a research paper entirely from your own head, and you'll quickly run out of things to say. To make a valid, persuasive point in academia, you have to invite outside experts into your work. You have to use their evidence to build your case. But the moment you start weaving someone else's research into your writing, you enter a high-stakes environment. There are strict rules governing how you handle another person's intellectual property. Break those rules, and you commit the core offense of the academic world: plagiarism. The term actually comes from the Latin word plagiarius, which literally translates to kidnapper. You are abducting an expert's voice and passing it off as your own. Looking at this university guide, we can see exactly how broad this definition is. Plagiarism happens when you hand in work that isn't entirely yours, without acknowledging the original creator. That covers copying text directly, paraphrasing without credit, or resubmitting an old assignment. The penalties ranged from failing an assignment to total expulsion, and professors are highly skilled at catching it. Down in this section, you can see the telltale signs they look for. They easily notice when a paper suddenly shifts from simple sentences with elementary mistakes to highly sophisticated, flawless grammar. Many institutions also run every submission through advanced detection software. Honest attribution is the formal mechanism you use to invite established experts into your paper. By properly citing their work, you use their research and authority to validate your own claims. To prove you aren't kidnapping an idea, you have to leave a clear, unbroken paper trail. The reader must be able to trace the information from your sentence directly back to the original author. This trail relies on a two-part mechanical system. As you can see here on the left, an in-text reference acts as a signpost. It drops a quick marker right next to the evidence, which points the reader to the right side, a complete references section at the end of the document containing the full publication details. That in-text signpost takes different forms depending on your field of study. Some use an author date format, like Harvard style. Others, especially in science and engineering, use numerical systems, like Vancouver. A tiny superscript number replaces the name and date, but it still links directly to that same comprehensive list at the end. This academic reference guide shows us how to actually weave these citations into a sentence. You can use an author focus, where the expert's name drives the sentence. For example, Smith argues that. Or you can use a content focus, where the data takes the lead and the author's name is tucked into brackets at the end of the claim. Mastering these reference mechanics gives your writing immediate credibility. It shows your audience exactly whose research you are relying on and keeps your academic conversation entirely transparent. There are 3 specific pathways you can take to physically pull an expert's evidence into your own writing. The first pathway is quotation. If an author's original phrasing is uniquely powerful or specific, you use their exact language. Looking at this textbook extract, we see the rules applied. The text is identical to the source, it is enclosed in quotation marks, and the citation includes the specific page number. The second pathway is paraphrasing. This is where you take a specific idea from a source and express it using your own vocabulary and sentence structure. But here is the crucial trap. Just because you changed the words, you do not own the idea. The intellectual heavy lifting was done by someone else. You must attach a citation to your newly written sentence. The third pathway is summarizing. This involves taking a massive amount of information, like an entire research paper or a complex multi-page argument, and condensing it down into a sentence or two. Exactly like paraphrasing, summarizing requires a clear citation. Even though you have drastically reduced the word count, the underlying architecture of that information belongs to the original creator. Whether you quote, paraphrase, or summarize, properly attributing the source is the only action that legitimizes your use of their intellectual property. There is one notable exception to all of these rules: common knowledge. Facts that live widely in the public domain do not require a citation. For example, if you write that smoking has negative impacts on human health, you don't need to link to a medical journal. That fact is universally accepted and undisputed. But the line between specialized research and common knowledge can get blurry. The golden rule of academic referencing solves this entirely. If you are ever unsure whether a fact requires a citation, include a reference anyway to be safe. When you sit down to write, it can be tempting to simply cut and paste the words of established experts. Their writing often sounds highly sophisticated, and hiding behind their vocabulary feels like a quick way to sound smarter. Leaning heavily on an expert's uncredited voice prevents you from actually practicing the craft of writing. You bypass the mental work of processing and synthesizing information, which keeps you from ever developing your own unique academic voice. Academic referencing is an act of professional honesty. By rigorously pointing to the ideas and data gathered by others, you draw a bright line around the conclusions that are uniquely yours. You stop writing in a vacuum and officially take your rightful place in the academic conversation.